Dormammu, we've come to bargain. So, welcome
Nice.
to the multiverse of superhero stuff you should know. We are the variants of your usual hosts here to talk about Marvel. This is Ben, the Defender variant, and with me is the butt of Agamotto.
The butt of Agamotto. He has the eye. I am the ass. Also, I wanted to say we're going to try out some new recording techniques. So
Yes.
we might experience some turbulence this episode and maybe a few after this, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I also want to say fuckity fuck, because we couldn't cuss on the last episode, man. I feel like it wasn't me. I didn't feel like me.
So we are back, yes, and there's even a tidbit from the last episode I had to cut because of the fact that we were asked to be family friendly. I will put this in the post credits of this one, so that we can all have the benefit of that. Because I think even Dan was disappointed that I had to cut it. But I was like, man, we were asked to be family friendly, and there was just no family friendly way for me to share that tidbit. There was just nothing. So
it was a pun in Tagalog. So it was like, I felt like maybe we could have kept it in. Anyway, we'll get to it.
There's that one too. There's that one too, actually. Yeah. There's one I didn't even say in the episode because I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to phrase this.
Okay, got it.
But it's along similar lines, yeah. But anyway, we are here to discuss a very different hero. We usually talk about, we've been talking about Batman, obviously, because of the Batman, but we're going to talk about a different, intelligent, rich, pale American guy played by a British actor who suffers trauma, goes around the world to get training, and comes back to the city to be a hero, all to a theme song written by Michael Giacchino, and it's Doctor Strange.
Oh, man.
And to
Doctor
celebrate the release...
Strange.
Oh, hold on. There we go. And to celebrate the release of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we're going to dive into the unmade script of Doctor Strange, co-written by his co-creator Stan Lee himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is definitely a little kernel from the past. So, we haven't seen the new movie as of this recording yet. Hopefully we don't feel as if we've already seen it before we end up going to it, the way that spoilers are these days. But we are both fans of the first one.
Oh, it's great.
I feel like it's kind of underrated, weirdly, in a way.
You think so?
I don't see it in a lot of like top 10 MCU movies. It's usually Avengers stuff, and obviously, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy. But I usually don't see this one in it that much. Or most people are just like, it's all right, but it's just another Marvel origin. But I'm just like, but it's like one of the best ones.
I remember people talking about it had all the same exact beats and formula as Iron Man 1, but I mean they might have some case for that maybe, but at the end of the day, it's still such a different character. It's all about magic, and there's
right.
It's really trippy, the LSD kind of influence of it, and I mean, he's got an ego like Tony Stark, but other than that, I mean, I guess the story beats can be similar, but I don't know, man. It was pretty different. It was different enough for me.
Yeah, same here. And I also love I think we also love the Eastern part of it. That's not really part of the Iron Man story in the sense of the philosophy or discussion about life with the Ancient One and all that stuff, and discussion, her final monologue about death before she passes away, like all that type of stuff. You don't get that in the first Iron Man.
No, it's much deeper in that way. That's true. And like, I eat that shit right the fuck.
Yeah.
So I love.
It's not a surprise. We like this.
Whenever, those kind of scenes.
Yeah. I think as well we have an episode in the backlog about Doctor Strange and the Occult. So check that out, guys, if you haven't already. We'll put the link in here, but we're going to be covering this attempt to do a Doctor Strange movie way back around 1989. So this is around the time of the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton movie. No idea how they would have put off the effects on this. Definitely would have been a lot of miniatures, stop motion animation, like that type of stuff for what we're about to cover. But this is a second draft dated in 1990. Written by Alex Cox, who's the screenwriter of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And the story credit, it's not who I expected to be behind this. Story credit by Alex Cox and Stan Lee. So these two work together. That seems like a weird combination. You've got, Stan Lee, true believers, and you got the very British Alex Cox, who teamed up with Terry Gilliam on, the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas movie. So how the hell did
Right.
this happen? I actually found that Cox does a podcast right now,
What?
and yeah, he does. So there was a episode specifically about the Marvel movies and Doctor Strange, and there's a fair amount of it that's kind of sounds like just a bunch of old men complaining about the takeover of Marvel franchise on cinema. But
Oh
he did
yeah.
he did talk about his time on this. So around this time, it makes a lot of sense that Stan Lee wants to get more Marvel movies out there. The 80s pretty much has the Christopher Reeve Superman movies and of course Batman 89, and Stan Lee wants Marvel movies out there in theaters, not just, the trial of the Incredible Hulk, and that type of stuff that's on TV. Well, that stuff is good. He wants like in the theaters, like cinema. And
He
he
doesn't
worked
want Hulk wrestling an actual baby bear on screen. You ever seen that?
in the old show.
Yeah,
I think I
70s.
did. I think I
He
did.
wrestles an actual bear.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
So he ends up working with the production company American Zoetrope, which, for those who don't know, that's headed by George Lucas and one of the major critics of Marvel movies, not Scorsese, but Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, right.
So obviously, there's not like a direct uh, role for Lucas and Coppola in in this version of Doctor Strange. So nobody get excited and be like, Coppola almost did Doctor Strange. Like that's not really
That
what
would have
happened.
been
It's just
incredible.
yeah, hi Peanut. So
Peanuts back, everybody.
Peanuts come to bargain.
Yeah.
So Stan Lee decides that he wants more Marvel movies, and Cox, who's the screenwriter, Alex Cox, decides like, hey, why don't you do Doctor Strange? Because I think Doctor Strange is an amazing character and a great world to tap into, and you've got all this magic, sorcery, all this type of stuff we haven't really seen that much in a comic book movie outside of there was a previous Doctor Strange TV pilot in like the 70s, but that was about it. So they wanted to do it for real, and they collaborated, and Stan Lee's actually writing the script with him while working on the Spider-Man newspaper strip.
Okay.
And Cox brought up that he thought it was crazy that Lee was focusing so much on the newspaper strip and not enough time on the script with him, because it's just like this could lead into like millions of dollars. But he, in hindsight, realized that Stan Lee was actually being really smart, because Lee was doing his job for like guaranteed money as opposed to the script, which was on spec.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So they didn't end up getting paid at all for this. Meanwhile, Lee is, making the money off of the Spider-Man newspaper. So it all
Okay.
makes sense. But anyway, they co-write this. And as we know from history, it doesn't end up getting off the ground. But it is interesting to take a look and see like what could have been the Doctor Strange movie of the 90s. So
That's awesome,
yeah.
man.
So let's take a look. We open. So we have a different opening than in the MCU movie. Instead of the whole opening where Matt Mickelson is storming the library and fights Tilda Swinton, we actually open at Stonehenge in the
Oh,
6th
that's
century.
awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's an explanation for Stonehenge, and here it is the burial site in a way for Merlin. So
I love it.
6 men carrying a dying Merlin the magician. Yes, the Merlin, the OG wizard. Yes, before the Indeed Wizard, there was the
Oh
Merlin.
shit! In this movie, Merlin is the Sorcerer Supreme. Like the OG one.
He's the first Sorcerer
That's
Supreme.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he brings up, my time has come, but I have trained you as my successor, and you will have another successor. Like they're just like, well, the darkness is eternal. How do we fight that? It's like, our successors will keep going on and on and on. And he says, quote, the chain is eternal. There is always another. And with that, Merlin's body fades away, Yoda style, gone forever.
They've already got me. I
yeah.
like it already.
It's a great opening. I'm just like, this is an amazing type of thing. And it ties into like what you already know, especially remember, this is like the 90s. People are like just kind of getting into a little bit of comic book movies, but sort of like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, because like Christopher Reeve and the Michael Keaton movie have kind of showed you can do it in a serious way, but other stuff, not so much. So it really depends.
Mm-hmm.
We then cut to New York City in 1999, the future for them, futuristic.
That's
for them.
right. That's right.
So, right at the turn of the 21st century, where we meet the villain Byron Mordo. So, this is a version of Baron Mordo in the comics. So, we know Mordo in the MCU from the MCU movie. He's a fellow, more experienced sorcerer who meets Strange when they're under training from the Ancient One. And he kind of goes to the dark side towards the end of the first movie and appears to be an antagonist in the trailers for the new movie. In the comics, he and Strange are mortal enemies. And so this script sort of continues that, but sort of reimagines Baron Mordo. So his name is Byron Mordo, and he is a corporate energy tycoon who's heavy into nuclear energy in this version. Uh, Still
Okay.
has magic. Still has magic. It's just like it's kind of a Norman Osborn Lex Luthor thing where he's just like, by day I am this businessman, but I'm actually a sorcerer type of thing. So nobody worried that they went all, Lex Luthor on this. He actually does have magic. So he goes to buy out a corporation that's run by this old Asian man. And the dialogue seems to be about a corporate takeover on like, when is this takeover happening, that type of stuff. There seems to be some animosity between them. But if you look at the subtext, they're not really talking about a corporate takeover. They're talking about something else that's about to come. And that's because this Asian man he's talking to is not just another businessman. He's talking to the Ancient One. So,
Nice.
in the comics, to explain this for those who might only be familiar with the MCU version, the Ancient One in the comics is not bald Tilda Swinton. The Ancient One in the comics is an old Asian man. And
you would think that Marvel, of all people, would have known to not whitewash that role. I really like Tilda Swinton in it, actually.
I thought she was great,
but
yeah.
She's great. I mean, you can speak on this probably more than I can, I guess. But, it just feels like it was like 2017 or something, right? They should have already known not to do that, but whatever.
It's interesting. It's like I think the explanation is they didn't want to do the cliche of the old wise Asian man, but then instead they completely wrote out the Asian guy's part. And I'm like, well, personally, I think they should have just split the difference, have Michelle Yeoh in the part. So the Ancient One.
Yeah.
I'm just like, just have make it just an old Asian woman then. Like, just make that a little different then.
That would have been cool, yeah.
Would have been a better use for her than both Shang-Chi and Guardians 2, because she's in both in different roles. But
right.
this would have been a bigger showcase. But who knows what they'll do with her character in the future for those installments. But the Ancient One is here. This script sticks to a lot of the more traditional takes on the characters. So Mordo is already a villain. The Ancient One is an old Asian guy. And so basically Mordo is actually warning the Ancient One about the coming of his master, the eternal darkness that Merlin was referring to earlier.
Okay.
We then go to Bleecker Street, where Doctor Strange's house is there, just like in the movies. One thing we have to bring up, this script, it seems very apparent once you get to this part in the script, it's not an origin story. They completely skip over the origin.
Okay.
Strange has already done his training under the Ancient One. It's almost like Batman 89, where it's just like, let's just get right to it.
Yeah, some people just don't like origin stories, and they're not going to write it. So, I mean, I get it, I guess.
I think I figured this out too, where I'm like, I think that's fine if it's a character like Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man, where it's just like, all right, we've seen all these different iterations. We kind of
right.
But when it's Doctor Strange, I'm like, I feel like that's missing. Which is interesting because I think one of the main criticisms for the 2016 Doctor Strange movie is like, oh, it's another origin story. I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel like I would have been as attached to the character if we just went like he was just immediately the sorcerer dude,
I love the doctor thing and him, the whole origin of him losing his, use of his hands mostly. I think that's great, man. I love that origin story. And what I think, like, so Doctor Strange is my wife's favorite Marvel movie because she loves Harry Potter and she loves like fantasy. So like it's just like a direct through line to that, right? And she also loved the fact that that he studies hard. She loved him in the library studying the books. And we wouldn't have had that if that was if the origin was taken out, basically. So
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people were just like, "Oh, it's another Marvel origin," but I'm just like, yeah, like I don't really see a better way, honestly. And this script is kind of an alternative of like, well, what if they didn't do that? What if it just started with him? And so we can cover whether or not that was the right approach when we go further with this. But we get to Bleecker Street, and a group of 4 henchmen are trying to break into Doctor Strange's house to steal a book, which seems like a bad idea considering what's in Doctor Strange's house, because a spell basically protects protects the house and ends up sending them right back outside,
Okay.
which is cool. This break-in attempt, of course, is noticed by the man running the house, not Doctor Strange yet, but Wong. So
Nice.
another thing to remember, Wong is different in the comics and in the script. In the MCU, he was a librarian who's like another experienced sorcerer, and he kind of has this buddy cop dynamic with Strange throughout Doctor Strange and the rest of the movies. In the original comics, though, he was Doctor Strange's servant who speaks broken English, and that's the version that we get here in the script.
Okay. Yeah.
So we do meet Doctor Strange in a very different way than we do in the MCU movie. So instead of the origin story, so for if you complained that there was an origin story for in the MCU for Doctor Strange, this is the script for you, because in this version, Doctor Strange is on TV sharing his story with Oprah on how he became Doctor Strange.
He's getting it out that way. That's how that's the exposition right there, man.
Yeah. She's like, I understand you got into a car accident, like all this type of stuff is like in the interview. I'm like that dude you described who watched The Last Jedi, where it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I guess this is one way to get out of it, but okay, you completely skip over this guy losing what he spent, what he thought his whole life's purpose was, and now it's just like, yeah, I'm already a sorcerer, dude, and I'm a hit writer, and people turn to me when it comes to the occult. I'm like, okay. He's also debunking someone who claims to be in communication with the ghost of Ivan the Terrible, where they're just like, I speak to Ivan, and then Doctor Strange is like, do you speak Russian? And they're like, no. And then he's like, well, Ivan the Terrible didn't speak English, so I don't know how you can be talking to him. And so he just debunks the guy on the air. So that's kind of the intro to Doctor Strange. It feels really weird to me.
Not good. Needs a rewrite. Just take out Oprah, man.
Maybe we should do an origin story.
If you're not going to have an intro to him, do a James Bond intro with magic, okay?
Yeah.
Just have him open in the middle of casting a spell. Boom, that's your intro. Just get right to it if you don't want to cover everything before that. And then you bring it up here and there like you did with the Batman. You know what I mean? And so it just wasn't the best decision here.
I don't know why it's not just him defending the house when the guys break it. Like, that seems like such an easy thing, where it's just like,
yeah.
It's the standard thing. These henchmen are breaking into a rich guy's house, and then suddenly it's just like everything turns upside down, and it's Doctor Strange, and he's like throwing spells at them, and then they're throwing spells back at him, and you're just like, whoa, what the hell is this? Like, it would be a hell of a intro to it, but instead it's just kind of just a silly, like, oh, like these thugs didn't really know what they were doing, and they get thrown out, and Doctor Strange is on a talk show, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
so,
that's a definite rewrite before you start shooting, for sure.
Yeah. So at the talk show, Strange does get basically confronted by a woman named Tanya, who wants to talk to him. She wants to talk to him about her dreams, and Strange is just basically turning her down, tells her to go see a shrink, and leaves because he feels like that's a waste of time. But she is going to be an important character later on. Strange gets home, and he's visited by the Ancient One, who tells Strange that Mordo is back. Byron Mordo is back, and he's the conduit for the Eternal Darkness, who, of course, is, for those who might not have guessed already, Dormammu. So, we, of course, remember Dormammu from the ending of the first one as the giant floating head, voiced by an uncredited Benedict Cumberbatch. That's interesting casting, to have basically the same actor who does the hero play the villain.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I've only seen the movie once, actually, but I really did enjoy it, and I loved how it was a mind game win. It wasn't
it's one of the best third acts of the MCU.
Isn't it? Yeah. It's such a solid
really
movie.
A fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so well done. In the comics, we have the comic version of Dormammu on the right, where he has sort of his head on fire.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. This does get referenced later on, so that's also why I brought this up. So the overall idea, according to Alex Cox on the script, is that the movie would kind of have an environmental message, where Mordo is like this nuclear energy tycoon, and Dormammu is actually behind him, and Dormammu is the reason behind global warming and all the pollution in the world, as a way to slowly turn the Earth into hell.
Oh man, this is just before Captain Planet, probably too.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know if this really fits. I get the intention behind it, but it's I don't know, it's weird. And honestly, I didn't really get that vibe at all until I listened to the podcast. And he was like, "We had an environmental message and everything." I'm like, "You did?"
It
I
feels
guess.
forced because it's, it's more about magic, right? It's just if it was a little bit
If
more
it's
of a
Captain Planet,
science-based
it totally
character.
makes sense. Yeah.
Well, Captain Planet's like its whole deal, but I mean, like,
Mhm.
if it was, Submariner or,
Yeah.
somebody else,
Or
just
Aquaman. Either one of those.
Aquaman. It lends
Totally
itself so
fits.
naturally.
Mhm.
But this is, I personally, I try to have environmentalist values and stuff in my real life, so I'm for that movement. But uh, you know, I don't know if I want it part of a Doctor Strange story.
It seems like it's out of place in this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Strange knows that Dormammu is coming thanks to Mordo, and it does look like he has a previous history with Mordo. They both used to be students of the Ancient One, but Mordo went off his own path, and that's it. We don't actually. There's no flashbacks of them having used to be friends, really, except for like one shot. That's kind of a flashback, and that's about it. Like, there's not really a lot to their relationship in this, unfortunately. So Strange decides he's going to visit Mordo in his own unique way, so he meditates in the Sanctum Sanctorum, but uses his astral form to go visit Mordo at his corporate office. Which sounds like it's a hell of a sentence to say in a Doctor Strange movie. But he visits this corporate office where Mordo is talking to the goons who failed to break into Strange's house, and they're actually revealed to not be regular humans, but they're actually 4 demons, which is pretty fucking cool. Except they seemed kind of incompetent earlier on. That I'm just like, well, that would have been like a lot cooler to show. But we have Beelzebub, Asmodeus, Moloch, and Baal as the 4 demons who are working
Ball,
for Mordor.
BAL.
Baal, yeah.
Yeah, these are all maybe. Well, a lot of them are from the Bible. These
Yeah,
are
yeah,
yeah.
and then taken into Doctor Strange comics as different like demon
Hmm.
antagonists for him. So they are drawing off the comics, of course, because Stan Lee is co-writing this. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine any other way.
They're
But
probably in the Torah too. It's they're all like Old Testament. I mean, I don't know. I grew up Methodist, everybody, so
mhm.
I don't know what exactly is in the Torah, but there's I'm just saying that because Stanley, Jewish.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
That's true.
mean?
That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't remember if Ditko, because Steve Ditko is the other one who worked on Doctor Strange. I don't remember
Did
if he's Jewish too.
Ditko? I think he is. Correct us in the comments, but I
Yeah.
think probably is. But so I listened to. This is going to be a shout out to a much bigger podcast than us, but Wizard and the Bruiser today, actually, on their episode of Doctor Strange. It's a really good one, too. Listen to that one after this one, everybody. But they were saying that Doctor Strange feels a little bit more like Ditko than Stan Lee because Doctor Strange isn't as sassy. He's not quippy. He's it's kind of missing a little bit of that Stan Lee juice.
Ah, interesting.
So he's more of a man of consequence, you
Right.
know.
Mhm.
So it's maybe possibly more of a Ditko creation.
Mhm. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Um, so these 4 demons are there, and Mordo communicates with Dormammu on the other side, as Dormammu is in the dark dimension. And Dormammu is like, "You fool! Doctor Strange is right there in astral form." So I guess Strange gets outed immediately by Dormammu, and we have our first fight as the demons all go into astral forms themselves to fight the astral Doctor Strange. So we have this astral battle around this office building, and Strange splits himself into 1,000 Doctor Stranges to escape and sort of trick them as he makes his escape. And during the chase, he coincidentally winds up at the home of Tanya, the woman with the bad dreams. And
Okay.
she has a handful of pills in her hand to try to escape from these constant dreams she's been having. And it's the astral version of Strange who stops her from committing suicide, basically quipping that the pills that she has will not be enough to kill her. In fact, all they'll do is just make her feel really, really bad. So she ends up just tossing them out while also wondering what the hell she just saw, since this is astral Strange who's talking to her, and somehow
Right.
she can see him.
She
So
has the juice, man. She
she has
has
some, she has his Stanley juice.
she has the Stanley juice.
Yeah.
She's the
So
sassy one.
yeah, she
Stanley wrote
is.
her.
Probably. So the next day, Tanya actually visits Strange at Bleecker Street, and as a gift, she randomly gifts him Link Ray's Falling Rain, a record that he was interested in getting in a previous scene. However,
Link Ray is like a surf rock band, isn't it?
yeah.
Did you listen to this?
I didn't listen to it while I was reading the script. I probably should have.
I think it's surf rock, which is he looks Native American. Is this a Native American? Like
he's dressed as one. I don't know if he is, but he looks like he's dressed as one on the cover.
First Nations people, indigenous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically the whole idea is she had no way of knowing he wanted this record. She just kind of out of the blue thought, like I'll bring this as like a gift to get my way in. And so Strange is like already wondering what's going on with this one. She can see me in my astral form. She kind of knew that I wanted this record. Like, what's going on here? And she knows the name Dormammu.
Okay.
And he asks her why. And she's like, well, that's why I keep trying to talk to you. He's who I see in my dreams.
Okay.
So that explains why she's been trying to get to reach him. So Strange kind of gives the explanation about Dormammu, who's from the dark dimension, seeks to destroy all life here on Earth, is responsible for a lot of type of shit. Basically wants hell on Earth. Standard stuff you would expect from the guy who's basically the devil on this. And Wong and Strange have Tanya recount her dream, which shows events that are playing out in real time. So she kind of has these precognitive dreams, kind of like the women in the sisters in Minority Report, that type of thing. So what she saw that's now happening is the Ancient One saving a family from a group of soldiers. But the soldiers are actually the demons in disguise, and the demon Moloch ends up mortally wounding the Ancient One. So Strange goes in astral form to the Ancient One, who declares that he, Strange, will be his successor. Strange doesn't think he can do it, and the Ancient One says he only has two pupils, him and Mordo. And he says, would you have Mordo be supreme sorcerer of Earth? And then the Ancient One dies, leaving it up to Strange to stop Mordo.
I gotta say, solid script so far.
Yeah. Pretty much moving things along, and now like his mentor is dead, and he's got to now stop Mordo from bringing Dormammu to Earth.
This is the point at which we are solidly in the second act. Would you say?
I would say so. Yeah,
right when he dies.
Yeah. So far, you like this?
I think it's pretty good for what it is. I think that. I mean, the environmentalist thing is looking at it now, it's kind of silly, but him going to Mordo's office, I think that is him writing to budget. He probably knew they're not going to make a practice, because back in '89, they're probably not going to make that set. They can make, 4 demons. They can do camera tricks to turn Doctor Strange into Multiple Man. They can do all that. That can be within budget, but to create that whole, hellscape set, that's not going to happen. So I kind of get why they wrote it as an office.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's solid so far. Maybe it'll get like way silly in a minute, but I feel like it's going to. But it's kind of good so far for what it is.
Yeah. I think the downside, honestly, to me, is without the origin or with familiarity with the characters like you would have with a Batman or Superman or Spider-Man movie. I could see audiences are mainly there for the sorcery, but might not really feel like they know the characters. So it's kind of like it's a cool introduction to them, but they might not really get like what makes these characters tick. They just kind of like the world. So that's kind of the vibe that I got overall from this. But with the Ancient One dead and Mordo bringing Dormammu to Earth, Strange is up against basically his toughest challenge as a sorcerer, and we'll find out what happens to him after the break.
Dan.
Nope, we did that one too.
Gorgo?
Gamera. We're talking about Gamera.
From turtles to medieval samurai golems on our new series, Demolition Daiei.
Only on the HyperX Podcast Network.
Ellen, in 15 seconds, what is Nice Games Club?
It's our game dev podcast. Steven, help!
Game mechanics, accessibility, art and animation, level design, prototyping.
Everything that goes into making video games. How's that, Mark?
Nice. Listen to Nice Games Club wherever you get your podcasts, or at nicegames.club.
Lord have mercy, y'all. Do you like hounds? Do you enjoy pooches? Do you find yourself enjoying time spent with that of canines? Talking about dogs, y'all.
As you might have heard, Superhero Stuff You Should Know has now teamed up with BarkBox. For every month, you get a box for your special canine.
Pooches.
Or hounds.
That's right. One free extra month if you go to barkbox.com/superherostuffpod.
Follow the link and you'll get a free extra month valued at $35 and valid for all multi-length plans.
So get the BarkBox for your hound, for your pooch, for your canine.
Your doggo will thank you. And we're back. So, thankfully, Dormammu did not mess around with our ads there. So we are going to...
that evil fiend. Oh, wait, he's not part of this universe.
So let's go into it. So pretty much what we have is the second half here. And the Ancient One is dead and Strange is mourning for his mentor. But Mordo's next step is to eliminate threats. So he's taken out the Ancient One. Now he's going to go after Strange. And to do this, he has his demons call the cops on Strange. I shit you not.
Demons call the cops.
Yes.
This is okay. But yeah, so the Oprah one and this beat here. I forgot to mention that earlier. Yeah, that's not good.
It's literally a demon in a phone. Well, I mean, they're in disguise, but it's a demon in a phone booth calling up like, I think I found something about Doctor Strange. And I'm
They
like,
could
wait,
have played this humorously, I guess.
this is different, yeah. So the cops arrive to arrest Strange on reports that he might be behind the serial killings in the neighborhood, which I'm just like, wait, there's a serial killer going around in the neighborhood? It's not planted very well, or else I would have remembered at this point in the script. So to protect Strange, Wong puts everyone, including himself, on like a frozen spell. Excluded from this are Tanya and Strange. I'm not really sure how he was able to exclude Tanya and Strange and not himself this whole time, but I'm not a master of the mystic arts. So
You
basically,
go back to the library to study, man.
I haven't quite graduated out of Camertage, but they escape the house, Tanya and Strange, and as they're walking out, Strange steps foot on, it basically describes that he steps foot on sidewalk that actually isn't there. And he's like, oh, it's a trap. We need to get back into the house. And this is where we get the buildings falling away and the vibe that people compare to Inception, except this is not Inception. This is 1990, before Inception was made. So
That's
I'm
kind of crazy that they had that.
Yeah. I'm imagining just miniature, like a lot of special effects are part of this part, because I'm just like, okay, this would have been insane in 1990.
Yeah, definitely.
So we start seeing the Bleecker house get further and further away from them as Beelzebub is after them. And so Doctor Strange and Tanya are running. Doctor Strange pulls out his weapon, which is chalk, and he draws a pentagram on the floor around them. And then he uses the Eye of Agamotto to send Beelzebub back to where it came from.
Dude, the amount of backlash for the pentagram alone, especially in 1990 or before, would have been insane.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, apparently it started out as like an ancient Jewish symbol, and it's in like old churches. It doesn't always refer to evil pagan shit or whatever.
Right.
But it's definitely taken that in nuance in recent years for sure.
Yeah. And this version is to protect him and Tanya. They have to be inside the pentagram for him to use the eye to send the demon back.
Yeah.
So it all works, So they then go back and they take off as the cops are suspecting Strange of these murders that weren't really planted. And the demons have framed him. So he and Tanya hop on a bullet train that exists in 1999 that goes from New York to LA. I really wish this existed.
Oh man, it really should.
Yeah, but they're on this train, and that's where we get some downtime in the script. So Tanya dreams of Dormammu's plans to return, and it involves rocks that are said to have human faces. So they have to find.
They're going to Mount Rushmore?
You know what? That would have been funny, but that's actually not in the script. So Mount Rushmore, Mordo. That's where I want to return, Sister Dormammu.
We're going to. I saw the Native American on the Link Ray album, and it made me think we should go blow the fuck up, blow Mount Rushmore the fuck up, and return it to its rightful form.
Dormammu. So she and Strange hop on the train, and they find the rocks. They're trying to basically locate the rocks from these dreams. So they figure Utah is a good bet, and they hitchhike with a Native American man named Benny, who thinks that, oh, you're talking about rocks. Maybe you're referring to the Valley of the Gods.
Okay.
So we get something that we didn't get in the Doctor Strange movie, which is Strange and Tanya in the middle of Utah. So like very different surroundings at this point.
They
than,
smoke
we've seen
peyote or
other stuff.
something.
It's not in here, but that's the vibe that we got from this. So
Okay, this is their LSD sequence like that in the first movie.
I'll get to it.
Okay,
So,
okay.
the demons locate Strange and Tanya at the Valley of the Gods, and Mordo orders kill the woman first because she's the one who's dreaming of all the stuff that can lead Strange over to basically to Dormammu and their plans. So the demons end up going and they find that Benny, the guy who's basically helping them out, is trying to sell these Kachina dolls
I
to
don't
them.
know. Let us know how those are pronounced
yeah,
in the
but-
comments, please.
Yeah, let us know. But these dolls, basically, he's trying to sell them, and this is where stop motion comes in. The demons possess the dolls,
Okay.
and this is where it gets trippy because they attack Benny, and then they kidnap Tanya by strapping her into the car, and then somehow they end up driving the car. I think one doll's at the wheel and another one's doing the pedals. I don't know how it works.
I get that they want to include other cultures and people are super into Native American culture and stuff like that. I get it, but it would have been better if it was kind of still in the realm, in my opinion anyway, in the realm of like Eastern mysticism or Western mysticism. You know what I mean?
This to me was really cool, but also I'm like, maybe this is better for Doctor Strange too.
Right.
You know, that type of thing. Let's just because otherwise it's just like there's so many different worlds to introduce at once. We've already got to buy into the fact that all this Eastern stuff with Doctor Strange and there's Mordo and there's Dormammu and the Ancient One who's been like a mortal or something. Like there's all these things that you have to buy in like the first 30 minutes or so.
Right.
And, like I get that's how it was in the 2016 one, but it was a lot more drawn out to make it more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So here the dolls are attacking. They kidnap Tanya. They try to drive her, basically drive off with her in the car. But Strange in astral form sees this and he casts a spell that has cacti actually reach out and literally stop the car.
Whoa, that would have been cool.
Yeah. And so he then banishes the demon ball back to where he came from, entrapping him in a box that he conjures up and sends him up, flying, launched into the sky like a comet. So that's cool. Tanya panics at this point. She wants out of this. She didn't sign up for this shit. She was just trying to figure out her dreams. So Strange is like, let me cast this memory spell to make you forget. So this is pre-Spider-Man No Way Home, where he's already trying to do this shit. And just like in Spider-Man No Way Home, it goes wrong because she actually thwarts it, which makes Strange realize Tanya doesn't have precognitive abilities in her dreams. She has powers like him. She is.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
We kind of knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Tanya, however, does not accept the call as you would if we were to bring in Joseph Campbell terms.
Right.
There's always that beat where the hero like doesn't want to go on the hero's journey, where they're just like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this, that type of stuff. So she tries to go into a bar, saloon type place to place a phone call. And Strange follows her in. And just like any other 90s script, the bar regulars think Strange is a freak because of his cloak and they want to pick a fight with him. We saw this in the unmade 90s Hulk script by Jonathan Hensley. The same exact thing happens to Bruce Banner and he turns into Hulk at this point. It seems like a common thing that happens. But what is cool is Strange brings up that he can't use magic because that'll alert Mordo's demons. And I'm like, oh man, does this mean that Strange has to use some like martial arts techniques that he learned in Camouflage or stuff like that? The answer is no. Because there's an old Native American dude who's at the bar who happens to be there, and he uses magic to thwart the people attacking them. And I'm like, wait, who's this guy? Because that sounds pretty cool. So
that is cool now.
Yeah.
Actually,
he introduces himself under the name of Joe's 10 Wives. I'm like, interesting name. This is not a character in the comics. I looked it up. So Joe's 10 Wives tries to help summon the air gods to tell Strange about, where the location of Dormammu's return could be. And he ends up summoning Quetzalcoatl, the serpent-like god. That's like 30. It says he's 38 feet tall. And he's conjured up in here. So this is the closest that we got to like them tripping out because they see this.
This gets into all kinds of weird cultural stuff. Like you would have to maybe say that he, I mean, we're thinking from like our lens now, but it can't just be like any Native American at that point. That Quetzalcoatl is like specifically from a tribe, I'm assuming, in Mexico. So it's just I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think Joe's 10 Wives is from Mexico.
Yeah, so whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I know. This is where things get really messy because like Quetzalcoatl sees Tanya and it's like he recognizes her. He recognizes her. He brings in another culture. He recognizes her as Nefertiti.
Oh man, you
The
see what I'm
Egyptian-
talking about?
The Egyptian queen who was also a sorceress. I'm just like, okay, so wait a minute, just to backtrack. We have Doctor Strange, who's been learning stuff in Camertage from the East and stuff, goes to Utah, meets this Native American dude who conjures up this Mexican indigenous god to identify that Tanya is an Egyptian queen from history.
It just all makes sense, bro.
Yeah. So Mordo spiritually arrives somehow and uses a bolt of lightning to kill Joe's 10 wives. And I'm like, so this dude just shows up for 2 minutes and then dies.
He serves one purpose, right?
Yeah, I'm like, they could have rewritten this. This is pretty messy because I'm just like, you don't really need this character. You could have had some other way to get that across. But anyway,
right.
So Strange decides he's got to hold himself up in a hotel with Tanya. This is where I'm just like, okay, this is where the budget is kicking in. So he and Tanya are in the hotel room together, and he encourages her to empty her mind and meditate so that she can gain control over her own potential and her own powers and stuff. And again, she doesn't want to be a part of this. She refuses. She's the sassy one, as you brought up. So Strange is like, so be it. And he goes into astral form. And Tanya is like, well, I'm going to watch TV. And when she turns to the TV screen, Mordo's on the TV screen talking to her.
Okay.
And Mordo says, that is the stupidest move Strange could ever make, which is going to astral form right now, as the other demons arrive and kidnap her and the unconscious Strange, and they take off in motorcycles that go up into the sky, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they're going to take basically them to Mordo. But it seems that Strange has done this deliberately, gone into the astral form and used himself and Tanya as bait. So he's kind of operating in astral form to see where they go. And so Tanya arrives. She's delivered to Mordo, and she seems confident that Mordo's in the wrong place. We're in some sort of island. Dormammu's looking for a place where the rocks have human faces. And the demons say, basically, have her turn around and look. And she looks and sees that they're at Easter Island, where the rocks have human faces.
Oh, nice.
So I thought that was kind of a cool twist.
So it's not Mount Rushmore.
It's not Mount Rushmore. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe in
right.
another rewrite. Take out Oprah, bring in Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, exactly.
So an eclipse begins and Mordo starts summoning Dormammu to Easter Island. And then it describes that one of the Easter Island heads rises up with a stone body out of the ground and tears open the sky into the rest of the universe itself to open into the dark dimension. And Dormammu comes forth.
That's pretty awesome.
That is, yeah. I was like, this is great imagery, honestly. This is great. So Mordo offers human sacrifices in the form of Tanya and the unconscious Strange, or at least he thinks Strange is unconscious, as Strange's astral form finally meets back with his physical body again, and he kicks into action. So Strange starts banishing the demons around him, so that it's just him, Tanya, Mordo, and Dormammu up above. And when Dormammu says that Strange is too late to stop him, Strange calls upon the spirits of all the previous Sorcerer Supremes. So that includes the Ancient One, Quetzalcoatl, Buddhism,
Wow.
and Merlin himself.
That's awesome.
So they all come back and they all work to banish Dormammu back to the dark dimension. But as Dormammu is being brought back, he has Mordo grab Tanya and he takes both of them into the dark dimension with him as the rip closes. So now Strange is cut off from Tanya. And the ghost of Merlin warns Doctor Strange, you should not follow them. But Strange, being Doctor Strange, decides to follow them anyway. And this goes into the only similarity, I think, between this and the final movie, where Strange goes into the dark dimension for the third act.
Nice.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. No, that line
Yeah.
is not in the script, unfortunately.
Right.
But the prose of the script says, quote, the dark dimension cannot be described. It exceeds the maddest nightmares of Dali, Tanguy, or De Chirico. Don't know who that is. Sorry. The rules of physics don't apply here, nor do the rules of perspective, nor do any rules at all. Fortunately, what cannot be described can be drawn, and the Dark Dimension was copiously illustrated by Steve Ditko in Strange Tales numbers 133 to 141. I love that there's a comic book reference in the prose of the script.
That is cool.
Yeah. But it's natural too, because like literally Stan Lee is co-writer on this. So of course, like of all scripts that are going to be written around this time, this would be the one to literally say like illustrated by this guy in this issue. Check it out. So Strange confronts Dormammu to get Tanya back, and Dormammu says, "Let's make a deal," and has him fight against Mordo, a demonic version of Mordo here. So they make a bargain that if Strange defeats Mordo, he and Tanya can return to Earth, basically safe and sound. But if Strange loses, then Dormammu can have their souls for eternity. Strange bargains, well, how about in either outcome, Tanya gets to go back home. And for some reason, Dormammu agrees because he's got a trick up his own sleeve. So we have a fight of Strange versus Mordo, sorcery against sorcery. Again, this is one of those things where I'm just like, I get it, it's bad sorcerer versus good sorcerer, but it would have just have more emotional impact if we had seen more of the relationship before things went bad at this point. You know,
Right.
I think it would have had more emotional impact.
Right.
So
we don't know much about Mordo, right? Did they cover
not
much
really.
about him? He's just a bad guy that shows up, right?
He's just a servant of Dormammu who used to be
Right.
friends with Strange, but they don't really cover like there's literally just one image that Dormammu conjures up of Strange and Mordo back at Camertage learning from the Ancient One, and that's about it. It's not really anything.
Right.
You know, there's at least like when the Star Wars happened, there was clearly like some dialogue between the two that had a lot more of the history between Darth Vader and Kenobi. You know.
Right.
But here, there's not really that much of it in there. At least not anything that had as much of an impact. So Strange seems to be kicking Mordo's ass, and that's because we intercut with Dormammu inside of Strange's mind during this, and Dormammu was actually tempting him with how peaceful Earth could be if he controlled it, if he destroyed it and took it over. And so he's kind of allowing Strange to defeat Mordo and take Tanya back because he doesn't really care about Mordo or Tanya. He just wants Strange to work for him. So he ends up showing him what this all would look like. And I think I'll have you say the lines as Dormammu, where
Oh,
in terms of
man.
what he's going to say. And I will say Strange's lines in response. So here we go, Dormammu.
Mankind is an abomination. He despoils everything he touches. His only instinct is to destroy. I know I'm evil, Strange, but you humans are worse than me because you won't face up to the truth. The human race is the most destructive force in the universe.
And Strange's eloquent reply to this is, "Bullshit, Dormammu. Your head's been on fire so long you fried your brains." Maybe not the best line.
You fried your brains.
For Strange to say, I don't really picture Benedict Cumberbatch saying this, but
Right.
this is how they wrote it in 1990.
This was a Stan Lee line right here.
This feels like it is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see him sitting there with his sunglasses on, smoking a cigar, being like, he says he fried his brains.
Did Stan Lee ever take off those goddamn sunglasses? Now that you mention it, I don't think I've ever seen him take them off. But they might be They're probably prescription, I guess. The ones that change from regular sunglasses to regular glasses from two sunglasses might be one of those deals. But still, it's just like, that's his look.
Yeah. But no, the actual reply, I mean, that is the reply, but later on, Strange brings up that there is, quote, a spark, faint though it may be, a gleaming spark of divinity glowing within each of us. So there's Strange believing in mankind, believing in humanity, which is, cool, but also I kind of wish there was a lot more character work that led to that. Maybe if Strange was a lot more pessimistic beforehand and sort of realized the value of humanity, that type of stuff,
Right.
It's not really there. So Strange ends up defeating Mordo in the combat, and Dormammu basically tells Strange, finish him. And Strange refuses to kill, naturally.
This is pre-Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat came out in 92, I believe. 91, 92.
Oh, yes, that does come back. That does show up later. So Dormammu lets Strange and Tanya go here, but he has one more trick up his sleeve when he sends Moloch, the Destroyer, the last demon, after them. But this time, it's Tanya who turns around and stops the demon herself, summoning the power of Nefertiti, the Sorcerer Queen. Her energy meets Moloch's and everything explodes in white light.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. So for those listening in, you might be wondering, okay, who the hell is Tanya supposed to be? Well, she seems to have
Nefertiti,
elements.
man.
Well, yeah, she's supposed to be Nefertiti in the script, but I'm just like, there's any comic book connection? Because remember, this is Stan Lee co-writing this, so I would expect him
Right.
to. I wouldn't expect him to just, let's create some bullshit for this. Like, let's actually draw from the comics that he wrote decades ago.
Yeah.
So, she does have elements of the character Clea, who is Strange's love interest in the comics, who has magical powers herself, but she's never called this in the script. I think, pretty much they were saying that maybe she's based off of that, but they kind of went in their own direction of it. So that's kind of my theory on that. But I could not find a Tanya Anders in Marvel Comics.
I guess it would have to be Clea, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or a version of her. Yeah, makes sense.
But you would think they would just have her go by Clea rather than Tanya, but whatever.
I've read The Oath. That's probably the only Doctor Strange comic I've read, I think.
That's that one was inspirational for a few sequences in the movie.
Yeah. After the movie came out, I read that and maybe a couple more. I can't even remember at this point. But Clea is kind of a mainstay in the comics, I believe. But she's not in the MCU quite yet.
Yeah, and she's not technically in the script unless you count this as an adaptation of the character.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little weird that she's been sort of kind of cut out so far. Except with the exception of apparently she's in the 1970s Doctor Strange pilot type thing, which is natural. I haven't seen that. Maybe it'll hit Disney Plus. I know it's going to be released on Blu-ray soon.
I heard it was kind of okay for what it is.
That's good to know.
It's not. Of course, it's not the best thing in the world, but you know what I mean. It's like it's like you watch it. This is what I've heard anyway. I haven't seen it myself, but the impression I got was you watch it and you say, "All right," like that's basically the idea. Yeah.
So Strange and Tanya find themselves in between dimensions, and that's when the spirit of the Ancient One arrives, bringing up that Tanya knows who she is now. She is the spirit of Nefertiti. However, that means that she cannot return to Earth. And so Tanya thanks Strange for helping her realize who she is. And she kisses him and tells him that she'll see him, quote, sooner than you think. And then she disappears, leaving Strange alone and somewhat heartbroken because he was in love with her, apparently. I feel like that relationship's a little underdeveloped in this script.
Yeah, they kind of take out the Oprah scene again and just add something in there. I don't know.
Yeah. So at home alone, Strange plays the Link Ray record that Tanya got for him, and then the electricity goes out because apparently he hasn't paid it. I don't know.
Link Ray is so random. I feel like, that just makes. I'm trying to place it like surf culture did use a lot of drugs. But people in surf culture,
something, like I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you know what? He's writing a budget again. They knew they couldn't get those.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They couldn't get those rights. So, but I mean, there probably would have been other bands that they could have gotten. Link Ray, that's just like the screenwriter just likes that band.
Yeah. That's Alex Cox probably. So Strange is depressed, alone in the dark with this record that won't play. However, he sees in the light that on the record, the cover, there's a message scrawled in lipstick that says, "Sooner than you think." The last words that Tanya said. So clearly she will return in some way. And so Strange relaxes and uses magic to play the rest of the Link Ray record to make use of the rights that they had to buy for this. And that's the end of the script.
Wow.
So what do you think of Doctor Strange 1990 compared to 2016 Doctor Strange?
I mean, the 2016 one is a lot better.
Yes, it is.
But, rating on a curve, grading on a curve, it's okay. I mean, it could have been much, much worse.
That's true.
Take out the Oprah thing, maybe change the setting for the Native American stuff. I don't know. No offense to Native Americans, but I just feel like it's a little bit out of.
It gets really messy.
It turns into like a road trip movie in the middle there. It's just like he's Doctor Strange. Why are we taking a train for one? Can he like teleport?
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense. He already knows magic. We've confirmed this isn't an origin story. He knows how to do it. So why are we not just teleporting places? But anyway,
no portals.
Yeah. The portals like they always do in the MCU. So that was a bit off to me. But that being said, I don't know. There's a lot of good beats in this. Mm-hmm. They need to develop Byron Mordo's motivation, right? Do you think?
Yeah, because they don't really go into why he decided to go from working with the Ancient One to working with Dormammu. Though, to be fair, I
Right.
don't know how well that's covered in the comics. Let us know in the comments because I haven't read the ones with Mordo in it. But like that could be a case where there wasn't much in the comics anyway, so they were kind of just like, yeah, like it's just
Right.
let's just stick to what was in there from the 1960s and not really developing more of it. But yeah, I agree. It could have been developed a lot more when it came to the villain.
What is Doctor Strange's character arc in this? Is there one?
It doesn't feel like that, which is another thing, like again, if it was a case where he was a lot more pessimistic and just hates mankind and doesn't really think that they're worth saving. He does what he can just because that's what he's trained to do, but he doesn't really believe in it. And then his love for this woman leads him to actually believe in humanity. And so at the end, when Dormammu is tempting him, we can understand why that's tempting for him, why he would want that, why Dormammu thinks that was going to work. And that's would make basically the ending a lot more powerful when he says, there's a glimmer of hope for all of us, that type of thing. There's a glimmer of
Right.
good. Like I feel like it would be a lot more powerful if the story is about like a guy who's a lot more cynical at first, doesn't believe in that hope, and then sort of gains that to the point that when he's tested at the end, he steps up to the plate, and that's when he really becomes the true successor to the Ancient One, the true Sorcerer Supreme, and that. But in saying all that, I think I'm describing a better movie than what's in the script.
Yeah, yeah, you are. So, so that'd be interesting if he goes from skeptical of humanity to believer, because we can kind of assume that he went from skeptical doctor in, didn't believe in anything magical to becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. This kind of happened like before this script, I guess.
Mhm.
So he's already made a similar, internal discovery or whatever. He's already had that arc, I guess.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't he apply that to what you're talking about? But, people are contradictory. People, it's kind of, even though it seems contradictory, it still kind of would make sense for this movie. And
Yeah.
you could wrap it up with, him coming to terms with accepting humanity or whatever via his character arc that's intertwined with Clea, right? Or whatever her name is, Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya.
So if you develop that love story, whatever you want to call it, a little more, their relationship more, you kind of what you call it, you kill two birds with one stone, basically. So we could have you should have been there, man. But you were what, 5 at the time?
I was even younger than that. Yeah,
You were yeah.
I was 2.
You were
So
2.
I couldn't have really done much.
In '89. I was 4. I was 5 actually.
Yeah. I was 2 when the second draft was written, so
Okay.
couldn't have done much. But I agree. It's not nearly as good as the 2016 Strange. I feel like this is like a nice introduction to the character, and if it had really great art direction, it could have been like just like how we see Batman 89 as like the king of like the art direction of stuff. Maybe that could have been it for Doctor Strange 89. Maybe it's not necessarily the deepest characterization of anybody or has the strongest story, but it does have the dopest like art direction of all this.
If it would have gotten that budget, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the times the Marvel stuff, I mean pre 2008, Marvel movies were, there was a time where DC had Superman and Batman, like the two kings.
Yeah.
Marvel didn't have a whole lot, They made X-Men in the year 2000. Well, I guess Blade in 98, but still doesn't seem like it was, it was nothing like now.
Yeah, most people didn't really recognize Blade as like a comic book movie. They just thought, oh, it's a cool Wesley Snipes vampire thing. They didn't necessarily associate it with comics.
I saw that movie so many times. I loved Blade. I had absolutely no fucking clue it was a comic book movie for the longest time, man.
Yeah. Exactly. And I would expect other audiences in 98, 99 felt the same way about it.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit about the project and why it didn't. I don't really have a lot of information on why it didn't take off. I imagine budget was like big thing. Like this is
definitely
extremely expensive. But apparently, in terms of casting, American Zoetrope was considering none other than Nicolas Cage for the role of Doctor
Hell
Strange.
yeah.
This
This
is years
would have been kind of good, actually.
This is years before he's considered to be Superman for Tim Burton, Scarecrow for Joel Schumacher's Batman Unchained, or Egghead as he wants to be for the Matt
Oh,
Reeves
yeah.
Batman.
Let him do
And-
it,
yeah.
Reeves. Just let him do
Yes.
it.
And of course, he was also Ghost Rider and Big Daddy and Kick-Ass. But anyway,
Right.
Cox says that Cage and his uncle, who is Francis Ford Coppola, apparently they didn't get along well at the time, so it would have been tricky for American Zoetrope to work with Cage, even though they wanted him for the role of Strange. So that's kind of a shame. In terms of how to handle the effects, Cox said that they were thinking of Phil Tippett for visual effects. Phil Tippett is a legend who worked on the Star Wars, the original trilogy, Jurassic Park, RoboCop. I'm not sure if they were thinking of him as a director or just doing the effects, because he also directs. But I don't know. But I'm kind of imagining that quality level of effects on Doctor Strange in 1990 and how that could have really been cool.
Definitely. Yeah, that's he was like the number one at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex Cox did see the 2016 film and described the final film as, quote, a thin medical drama, which
Oh my
doesn't really
God.
seem accurate of a description. You could maybe argue about thin if you wanted to, but I'm like, medical drama. Like, yeah, there are scenes in hospitals because he's a doctor. So
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
yeah. But for whatever reason, we didn't get Doctor Strange in 1990. Instead, we got Dr. Mordrid, Master of the Unknown, which is what you told me about this morning. I had no idea until you brought it up.
Learned it
So-
from that podcast again, Wizard and the Bruiser. But I have not seen this yet. But this looks kind of cool, and they did say it was like pretty good for what it is.
Yeah. So maybe this is the closest that we would get. This is a 1992 film starring Jeffrey Combs. Originally meant to be a Doctor Strange film, as I've read, but they lost the rights, so they had to change all the names. He's now Dr. Mordrid instead of Doctor Strange. And I gotta say, because I read the summary on Wiki, and assuming that summary is correct, it seems a little similar to what I read in the script. So
Yeah.
both skip the origin. It's already a Doctor Strange or Dr. Mordrid who is, already being on Earth to stop the villain from coming to Earth. And both feature the Strange character being framed for murder and wanted by the police. Both have a civilian love interest. Both feature endings where a character leaves our dimension and crosses over to the other side, leaving behind the love interest. But a hint about them reuniting again. As well as, I would gotta say, Dr. Mordrid, I also read, maybe this inspired what I said earlier, Dr. Mordrid, part of it is him sort of regaining faith in Earth and humanity as well, as part of his
Wow,
arc.
so he has the arc.
So maybe this is just a better version of what we read. The script is credited to C. Courtney Joyer, does not have any credits for Alex Cox or Stan Lee. So it's possible these are coincidences in completely different projects that just happen to have similar beats in there, because it's just like, well, if you're going to do an origin, if you're going to do a Doctor Strange movie that skips the origin, it makes sense that it would be about trying to prevent Dormammu. Like, you would bring in all the different elements in it. The part about them both being framed for murder in the middle of the movie, though, is kind of too much of a coincidence for me, though. But I don't know.
They maybe they shared scripts. I don't know. Yeah, and they just base it heavily off of that one. But yeah, apparently they wanted to make it and they just lost the rights or something. They're like, well, we're still going to make it, and they just changed the names and not much else. Seems like.
Yeah, which is cool. I think there's that kind of urban legend that Sam Raimi couldn't get the Shadow rights, so he made Darkman instead. But obviously he did a lot more to make that different from the Shadow at that point. So this one just seems like just Control F and find the word Strange, replace it with Mordrid, and do it with the rest of the names here.
We should watch this movie at some point, actually.
Let's do an upcoming Patreon on it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got what we got in the 2016 one. We're looking forward to Multiverse of Madness. We'll have seen it by the time this Space Leaf premieres, and we'll discuss it in the Patreon. I guess along with Dr. Mordrid, Master of the Unknown. At this point. We'll make this Doctor Strange month on the Patreon. But until then, that is superhero stuff you should know. Yes. All right. So,
okay.
So I want to say, as usual, big thanks to our research assistant, Dan, for putting together the visuals on this. And we have in our post credits, our listeners know that last week we did an episode for the Museum of Latin American Art on the insane Filipino Batman films. Now, we were asked to keep everything family friendly, as we talked about earlier. We couldn't swear, but since we're back to our main show, we can reveal one other tidbit that we could not before. There was no way for me to reveal this in a family friendly way. So, alias Batman and Robin, the 1991 film features Panchito, as pictured here, as a version of Penguin named Tio Penguin, meaning Uncle Penguin, of course. But in Tagalog, this is double entendre for blowjob.
Okay.
So basically, the Penguin of this film is going by the name Blowjob. I could not find a
I'll allow
family way to share that in the episode without the museum being like, we should probably cut that. Even if I was very, very like, try to keep very fill in the blank, I was like, there's no way. So there was that, and then also Dan brought up we had to cut out something that was also another pun in Tagalog, which is one of the titles of the movies that we described was the Roborats, and Borat apparently means dick in Tagalog. So that's what it was. But on to the fan comments here. So basically, we have an email from Paul G here saying, "Hi guys, I've just read that the CW is canceling the Batwoman series. I didn't watch the series, but I am aware of the issues with the original actor Ruby Rose and the recasting of the main character. I also just read that Batwoman first appeared in DC Comics 233 in 1956 and had her own sidekick, Batgirl, with a hyphen, before that character later became Batgirl without the hyphen as Barbara Gordon. And they were to be love interests for Batman and Robin. I was wondering if you guys could cover the series and its comic origins and how it evolved and how accurate the series is to the comics. I know you have mentioned it in other episodes, but this was an unknown character for me before the series started. Is the series worth watching? Keep up the great episodes. I've recently had to switch to watching you on YouTube because of all the unused designs you've been including, which have been awesome. Cheers, guys. Paul G." Thank you, Paul, for this. A Batwoman deep dive would be pretty extensive. We've kind of shied away from full-on TV deep dive simply because, we're talking about 3 seasons in this case of a TV show with a lot of like Easter eggs and things like that. There would be a lot for that, so we'll figure out some way to cover that. But I have some preliminary notes on stuff like that. If you are interested in seeing, I guess, the sole live action interpretations of certain characters, then definitely check those out. Nocturna's in it. The Joker's daughter's in it. Hush, they actually do the whole Hush thing with the bandages and him disguising himself as Bruce Wayne. That type of stuff is in there. So check that out if you want to. I would say the main standout is Rachel Skarsten as the villain Alice in all 3 seasons. So
Okay.
check that out. But thank you, Paul, for that.
Thank you.
And then on to another one. We asked whose favorite Batman movie is Batman and Robin, and we got a fantastic comment from someone who said it was their favorite movie. So this is from Zamazian XOXO. My favorite movie of all time is Batman and Robin. Not ironically either. LOL. I love it. To give an honest explanation as to why, I love camp, the costumes, the sets, the dialogue. It all feels like some strange multi-million-dollar Broadway show. I'm a huge believer in fictional characters like Batman, Superman, etc. being changed up and done in different styles, since they're not real people, They should be open to interpretation, in my opinion, so I just love how out there this one is. 60s camp mixed with 90s edge. I just adore it. And on a more personal note, I'm gay, and this movie has a huge following in the LGBTQ plus community. Gay director, lavish costumes, the homoerotic tension between Batman and Robin. Uma's very drag-inspired interpretation of Ivy, that reveal scene at the charity event, is basically a drag performance with the gorilla.
Right.
The colorful style, just everything screams gay, LOL. It holds a special place in my heart. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that Batman and Robin dialogue in this draft was cut because the studio said it was a little too gay, LOL. Like too on the nose. I think I might have fucked up the the copy and paste.
Open to interpretation, I think.
Yeah. But I think whoops. I think that that's just leftovers from the previous that I posted.
Okay.
Fuck up on the Google Sheets. But anyway, Samasian says this was so fun to listen to. I thought I knew as much as there was to know about this movie. LMFAO. I've seen it probably 100 times. That's way more than either of us. And done such a deep dive on it. Thank you for this.
So this person exists. Let it be known. And this not the only one, I assume. There's probably many more as well.
Yeah, I think we had someone last week too. So
yeah.
Thank you for coming on. We're one of the few that have such extensive coverage on Batman and Robin. Some people just do one video just to bash on it, but we've covered scripts, we've covered the movie and given it a fair shake in terms of how it holds up as an interpretation on the mythos and that type of stuff. So glad that we are bringing in people who have an appreciation for this and aren't afraid to speak that in a fandom that's very so often quick to point fingers at people having different opinions.
I mean, it also is just gotten to the point where bashing Batman and Robin is just kind of hack. Like
it's such a basic bat.
Yeah. Basic bat. Yes.
Yeah. Just like, okay, tell me something else.
We get it. We get it.
You don't like Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for this. Oliver Emeralds had an epic comment saying there was a lot that made it to the toy line when it came to the 1996 Batman and Robin first draft we talked about. Here are the details. The Bat Club. Look at the Bane figure as we're pulling up here. The handle on the rod is the club. In the final script, Batman launches the club at Bane. It looks like it has the capability.
Okay.
If we look at the handle of the big axe thing he's got, that's a possibility on that. Notice how this is a more comic book looking Bane than what we got in the movie.
Yes, much more. Yeah.
Skin. This is the Bane figure that I've got, and it's basically the comic book one. It's perfect.
Yeah.
He should have looked like this.
Yes.
The Bat Net Challengers of the Night Robin. The Challengers of the Night figure Robin has a net and a gun, but I guess it's the gun for the net on this. So that ties into the net being in the script. Then Virtual Helmet, Ice Skate Robin figure. It is a Dick Grayson figure with a weird helmet, as you can see here, which might be the virtual helmet he's talking about. And in the final script and in the movie, Dick opens the door and sees Barbara, hence maybe quick change. I think what Oliver means is Robin's in the Robin outfit doing the virtual training, and then the doorbell rings, and then he changes out of the Robin suit into Dick Grayson to answer the door. So maybe that's what he means by quick change. And then Ice Cutter Bat Cycle feature in the script. The blades can peel to the sides on the Batgirl cycle toy. Okay. And then double-ended hook Bane, Brawn versus Brain Pack. He lowers Freeze down into the Diamond Mart. So he's saying that this green wire thing that Bane has, it's like a cable, could be what they envisioned him lowering Mr. Freeze in. Which, guys, if you have this Kenner setup with this Bane and Mr. Freeze, you can reenact what we described in the 1996 script. It'll be the first time.
Tag us on Instagram.
Yeah, tag us there. Let us know on that. But that would be insane. And lastly, Black Suit, Poison Ivy, Night Hunter versus Evil Entrapment figure, the other Ivy figure, which features this suit. So thank you, Oliver, for this. This is really cool. Now people can kind of envision, or if you have the toys, even actually reenact sort of how this could have looked like with the script. I wish.
Yeah, I guess they got the toy maker got this script, I guess, huh?
Maybe.
It's looking like that, right?
Yeah. We're missing though. We are missing the Chris O'Donnell action figure where you remove the face to reveal George Clooney.
That's what I want. That's the one I want for sure.
And then you press a button, which is him talking about friendship. Perfect.
We would have been in like full Adam West mode, or I don't know, like it's a whole other level of cheese. And I think honestly, it would have been probably hated at the time, but I think it would have made that 180 quicker to people liking it.
Yeah.
If it had that scene, it would have become a cult classic, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so I think that's it for the fan comments. Over to the shoutouts.
Clutch Controller.
Get better control of your mobile gaming with its comfortable grip, directional pad, analog sticks, and shoulder buttons.
This versatile controller can fit a variety of phone widths and can also connect wirelessly for use on tablets and PCs.
Learn more and pick one up online at HyperX and HP.com, Amazon, Micro Center, Target, Best Buy, and many other fine retailers.
All right, everybody. That clip was we'll have to fix that clip a little bit, but anyway, moving forward. All right, so yeah, we want to thank everybody listed here in the visual. If you're just an oral listener, please take a look to the visual on YouTube just to see these lovely people. But we'll point out specifically. Let's go with the bottom line. We want to thank Daniel V, Pete B, Halsey C, Maurice D, Jonathan, Noel, Robert H, and RD for being our Patreones. In addition to all the other people in the list here, and also we want to thank our other supporters listed here in the visual. So thank you for that, everybody. We couldn't do it without you. You know, it's awesome, and the list is growing and growing. So I want to thank you for that. And please join the Shasta Army at patreon.com/superhero stuff pod. We have the $1 tier that gets you that shout out, be it visual or oral. And then we have the $5 tier that gets you a whole other show, the Patreon show. So this show is on every Monday that you're watching right now. And then this whole other show is on Friday. So you're going to get us twice a week. You could just binge us and just pay $5 and do the whole thing, which is fine. I'm sure people have done it before. So it's cool. Or you can keep it going and do it that way. So there's that. We have the monthly meetup show. That's our $10 tier. And with that, we have like a topic at hand, basically, and or a few topics or whatever, and we discuss that, interact with people in a Zoom-like kind of call, video call with listeners. So you can join us that way. And of course, if you have the $10 tier, you have the $1 and $5 tier benefits. If you have the $5 tier, you have the $1 tier benefit as well. So there's that. We have our merch. We have go to superhousepod.redbubble.com or superherostuffpod.threadless.com. If, to be honest with you guys, our sales haven't been good on these sites. Haven't been what's known as good. So if you have a design you want, Zach to do or Stefan Santa Cruz from back in the day, and you want that on a mug or a shirt or something, just let us know. And we'll see what we can do, because, it's been a while, and I think we should kind of listen to our fan base, our listener base. And there it just hasn't been selling that much, man. So there's that. But yeah, you get the Ben Man, Indeed Wizard, and Zacula mug, shirts, shower curtains, and all that there. So yeah, check that out. I think we'll work on it. We'll work on it. So anyway,
thank you to the one customer who bought stuff.
Yeah, it's like one or two at this point. I mean, that's just full disclosure at this point, guys. So, but our listeners are growing, and it's just, it is what it is. So anyway,
we're in the podcast business. We're not in the clothes selling business.
Clearly. I want to be slinging some mugs though, some t-shirts.
Sure.
So yeah, I do think since we have like our metal bumpers and stuff, maybe we should make like a heavy metal band tee or something in our designed kind of tee for our show. But let us know what you think about that idea. That just came in my head just now. So send us some audio. Another call to action. Please send us something. We get these a little bit from time to time, and sometimes we get a lot in 1 month, but still kind of slow on that end as well. So yeah, superhousepodcast@gmail.com. Send us your audio there. Can be pretty much anything. We had one where somebody had the what they thought of Venom, the Venom 2 movie. So that was Alex. So even stuff like that's cool. Anything, or just like, hey guys, love the show, and then click end. It could be something like that. So I'm Thunderwolf Drew on Instagram and Twitter. Thunderwolf lives on YouTube. ThunderwolfDrew.com has my whole portfolio, be it video or photo or whatever. And then amanorecon.com. That's AMANORECON.com. This poster here is by the great Zach, our still co-host, but he's on paternal leave. But yeah, this is an R-rated Power Rangers meet Stranger Things idea. It is an original idea, though. We have actually shot the campaign video for Indiegogo. It is still in the editing phase. I'm kind of happy with it. It's kind of like we've gotten what we wanted. Nice. I feel like pretty good about it. It still needs to be tweaked. It needs to be finessed. It's not ready for release yet. But it's looking like kind of kind of good, I think. So,
Awesome.
I mean, I think so anyway. It is kind of niche. Yeah, it is awesome. Thank you for that. It's kind of niche, but I think it's great. I think it's good. So, yeah. Well, it's going to be an Indiegogo campaign at some point, and I wish I had a date for that, but we don't have that yet. But this video that we shot, the video that I'm talking about, the video that I like, it's going to be the video that sits at the top of our Indiegogo page. That's our pitch video. Okay, that's what that is. And then we have our whole written spiel under that. Indiegogo is like Kickstarter. But anyway, yeah, it's coming. It's still coming. Things looking good. And that's it for me. Ben.
Shout out to Common Capital on Instagram, as well as the Everything Entertainment Club on Clubhouse. You can follow us on social media: Twitter, SuperHousePod; Instagram, Superhero Stuff Pod; TikTok, Superhero Stuff Pod; Vero, Superhero Stuff Pod. You can follow my website, benwanwriter.com, where you can also read my Gotham script, Gotham Vampire, where young Bruce faces off against the Mad Monk, as well as my script for Elementary called The Death of Sherlock Holmes, a modern update on the adventure of the dying detective, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, Disneyland, the Curb episode they could never make where Larry goes to Disneyland. My YouTube channel is in the description below, where you can also check out Doctor Who, The Rodent of Time, where the 8th Doctor meets Miyamoto Musashi. My personal Instagram is BenJuanWriter. My cat's Instagram is Alfie Pennyworth Cat. He shows up occasionally. If you have your eyes peeled, you can see him in the corner. But if you have an Alfie or Peanut or any of the cats like the co-hosts, then get the Whisker Box, the only cat box of the Crazy Cat Lady and Gent. And we have a special promo link for that. We also have a special promo link for Bark Box. Yes, the Bark Box, where you can give your dog exactly what they want. A promo link that we can provide that'll give you the first month off free, valued at $35. You won't want to miss that. And you can basically get all this type of stuff at superherostuffpod.com/shop. Get your eBay stuff, get BarkBox, get Whisper for Days, get Amazon shit, all type of stuff that you can get.
Amazon shit
to add to your collection while also helping us out a lot too. So that's pretty much what we got. Over to you.
All right. And there's our cue, guys. So
yes,
we want you to do us a favor of the universe.
We want you to tell all your friends about us.
And listen to the butt of Agamotto.